Okay, guys, so this is the Jumpstart Marketing and Lead Generation webinar, and today we are obviously going to be talking about marketing calendars. All right, so before we jump into that, I wanted to just go through a couple of topics briefly that we've already spoken about so you can see or start to see how the pieces of all of this come together in order to really form your calendar. Okay, so we have talked about different things over the course of this Jumpstart lead generation training. We talked about how you understand the neighborhood for effective canvassing. And, we've learned that really understanding the demographics, the boundaries, and how to break up a neighborhood into, I call them quadrants, so that you can really, hone in your marketing and really hone in and be able to tell what's working, what's not working, how you're going to invest in a particular neighborhood, etc., is really important. We talked about the anatomy of a marketing piece and the different things that are really important when creating a marketing piece and the message for that piece, such as the headline, the CTA, the call to action, the injecting urgency and offers into your marketing pieces so that they get out there and can be as effective as possible. We've also talked about split testing and the fact that you want to see what's working and what's not working in your neighborhood. It's never a one marketing campaign or one marketing piece fits all. It's, really should be about what the neighborhood that you're working in is, who the people who live in that neighborhood are, and how you're getting the best responses. And with split testing, you can take the same marketing message and present it in multiple ways. For instance, we're using yellow letters and sales letters, long form and short form sales letters, and we're also taking in some instances, the exact same message and just presenting it slightly differently, i.e., putting it into a yellow letter format or putting it into a long form sales letter. So, so we've talked about that. And we've also talked about the importance of multiple touches and how, at the end of the day, you absolutely want to be sure that you are strategically getting to your prospects, these homeowners, multiple times. So I'm sure by now you guys have realized between all the different types of marketing pieces and the lumpy mail and figuring out what the neighborhood is and figuring out how you're going to actually target certain people in certain areas or people who who are in pre-foreclosure versus someone who may be older and looking to sell or someone needing to upsell. How do you generate those lists? How do you find out who in the neighborhood might qualify for that? And then what are the different pieces that you're going to be sending out to them? And then how you order those pieces so that the message gets out in a way that is going to attract the attention of your prospects. So we've talked about all of those things, but now I want to talk to you guys about the actual marketing calendar. And what this really is, guys, is your roadmap, okay? This is really, in a lot of ways, what the document that you're going to use to put together up front so that you really know what you're doing along the way and you're not completely making it up as you go along. And a lot of people make this mistake, and it's a very big mistake. Remember, in previous webinars and in the field, I've talked about the fact that this is a business, and you absolutely want to know what your investment is going to be and what you or your team are going to be doing day to day, week to week, month to month. You don't want to make this stuff up because it makes it a lot harder at that point to track, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where it is hard for you to actually track your material. So the marketing calendar. Now, we're going to talk about marketing calendars in a very specific way today, okay? And the way that we're going to talk about it is the way in which we're using it in order to effectively go after farming a neighborhood, turning a neighborhood into our proverbial playground, all right? Okay, so what we are actually doing when we're doing the canvassing and putting together these campaigns is actually a two-part campaign, guys, okay? So it's what I call the upfront campaign and the background campaign. Now, the upfront campaign is, all the stuff that is really easy to see. The field canvassing, the door knocking, actually physically taking a marketing piece and putting it in the door of the houses in the neighborhood that you're working with. Okay, so that's the upfront stuff. That's the stuff that you are doing yourself or your team. Now, the background stuff is really it's the direct mail. It's you've created a marketing piece, you have a sequence, and that sequence is being actually sent off to the post office, and the post office is delivering those pieces for you. Okay, so it's actually really important that when you are planning your campaign, you're actually planning for the background part of the campaign, you're actually planning for the amount of time that it's going to take for the pieces to be created, sent to the post office, and for the post office to deliver it. So you need to understand what your expected deliverable or delivery time is on those marketing pieces, because you want to be not only touching them multiple times, but you want to be sending or giving multiple touches consistently. So the interweaving of your upfront campaign with your background campaign is where you'll actually start to see some real success. Okay, so the next thing is to talk about the purpose. The purpose of a marketing calendar is to really give you clear direction from start to finish on what it is you're doing and when you're doing it, okay? It really does allow you to absolutely plot and plan your campaign. And it's called a campaign for a reason, because there is a beginning, middle, and end to the campaign. It's a definitive thing, right? Okay, and then it also keeps you on target. So instead of going, well, how about we just hit this area today and then maybe we'll go over here tomorrow. If there's no clear path plotted, then you can very easily get lost in what you're doing. Also, what you'll start to find is as you're working a neighborhood, you might find a hot spot and want to work that hot spot a little harder than other areas, right? So you want to be able to have that calendar to refer back to, so you always know where you are in sequence and what should be happening next. And if you have to make changes, at least there is a written plan already there, okay? So that you can refer back to it and not get too easily off track. And trust me, I've seen it way too many times that is exactly what happens to a lot of people. They just get in, they don't have a plan, they haven't plotted out anything, they do not have a calendar, and then suddenly they're just lost, and they thought they hit these houses twice, but they only ever hit them once. Some houses they never even got to. So it's really important that you have that plan. And then you want to properly order and construct the rollout of your message or the marketing pieces. Okay, so you want to see where in the sequence does my main sales letter go. And remember, we talked about that sales letter really being the heartbeat of your campaign, and everything is kind of an extension of that, right? So you want to be able to properly order that. I also think it's important, especially in your direct mail, that you are referring back to the marketing pieces that were sent previously. So you want that sales letter to go out, and then maybe a yellow letter to go out, and then maybe it's the a postcard, jumbo postcard, or another type of letter. But you want to be able to say, "Hi, Mr. and Mrs. So and So, or Mrs. Smith. I sent you a a letter last week telling you all about the fact that I am working currently in your area with my team to look for houses and homeowners that are in distress," right? So you want to be able to refer back to that. So in order to be able to do that, you absolutely want to know in your calendar when that is going out, so that when you're designing those pieces ahead of time, that they are actually written and that there is some real thought into that, and you're not getting lost or saying that you said something that it never ever went out because you never even created the marketing piece, because you absolutely forgot when you were creating the pieces that that particular step was going to be the third or fifth step, so you weren't able to refer back to it. So that's something to really just keep in mind. And then the next thing is having that marketing calendar allows you to very effectively evaluate your response rates. Okay, and we all know that that is something that is really important, because again, you want to know what your return on investment is, right? So, so we're going to keep those things in mind as we're going about this. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is what the key components of a marketing calendar are. Okay, so for your marketing calendar, for your field canvassing marketing calendar, right? And remember, we're doing 2 campaigns at once. You want to first determine the length of the campaign, the number of touches, and that's going to be important. If you say you want to do 8 touches, you're probably not going to do 8 touches in just 2 weeks, right? That's probably just a little too much, maybe just a little bit too aggressive. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then your delivery. Are you expecting to do your touch number 1? Is it a door knock? Is it a direct mail piece? Are you just dropping off something in their door and hoping that they get it? So again, having the calendar will allow you to see how all that is coming together, or will come together, so that you can really properly plan what it is you're actually doing, okay? And then the key components of your calendar is really basically, I just do it in Excel. I think it's really easy, but you can also, if you don't have Excel or aren't computer savvy, you can very easily just do this, with a piece of paper or graph paper. I also am a big fan of graph paper, and create these columns. But it's 5 columns. The first column is the step column. Now, the actual step column I use because it allows me to be clear where in the campaign I am on any given day. And then you can see that the very next thing here is the day number. This is not to be confused with the date. The day number is the physical day within the campaign. So the first day of the campaign is day 1, which would also be the first touch. But the second touch, so for instance, let's say the first day of the campaign, the date of that campaign might be January 1st, okay? And that's the first step and the first day, and the first date is January the 1st. But your second step might not be till 7 days later, which would be, the date, which would be day 7 of the campaign, but that date then would be January the 8th. That makes sense? Okay. So, and then the type. Okay. So, in your campaign, what are your delivery methods, right? What's the media that you're using? Is it a door knock? Are you canvassing that day? Are you sending an email for any reason? If you have a list, maybe, and you're going to be sending some emails, is it a mailing, or are you literally just knocking on the door or leaving something? What's the type? And then what is the subject slash theme of that particular step, that particular touch? Okay. And you want to be able to look in one place and actually really get a sense of what's going out and what its purpose is. Okay. So I'm actually going to, you have in your membership portal a version of a marketing calendar that actually includes the email as well as that actually includes electronic door knocking and direct mail. I'm also going to send to you guys another version of a marketing calendar at the end of the program. But this is a nice, easy, simple one to begin with, and we're just going to go through this, and this will give you a really good idea about how you structure your marketing calendar. Okay, so as you can see here, and again, you want to pull this up in your actual membership portal. You have the PDF of this particular calendar. But this is a marketing calendar that I created for a client of ours who were not only just doing canvassing and direct mail, but they were also doing another campaign where they were actually sending out emails and press releases to friends, families, and family members and associates. So you can really see how you can combine all of those pieces into your calendar. But why it was important to do it this way, because it allowed them to be able to always track and know where they were and what they needed to do and what they needed to have prepared for each upcoming touch. All right, so what you see here is step one, the top of the chart here. Step one, day one, and let's just again say that the date would be January the 1st. Okay. Now, if you notice, I actually left the date section here blank because you can build the entire calendar out and then go in and plug the dates depending on when you're starting, right, and when you're going to finish. So in this particular campaign, the first thing that went out on day one was an email announcing to their friends and family who they were and not who they were because their friends and family know them, but what they were doing, okay? Also, on that same day, step 1A was for them to go and tour the neighborhood during the day. And again, remember, the marketing calendar is your road map. It's letting you know what you do day to day, or letting your team know what they should be doing day to day. So they're on day one. Step 1A was for them to use this day to go tour the area, identify vacant and dilapidated properties, use the neighborhood canvassing forms, which you guys have in your portal, to make notes of major intersections and other neighborhood features, and make notes of ideal bandit sign locations. Because again, you don't want to just make this stuff up, and you really want to understand and take the time to get to know your neighborhood. Okay, so step 2, which would be day 2 or day 2 to 4, in between that time period, I also wanted them, and if you have a team of people doing this, this is something that is good for you to include in your calendar, to go tour the neighborhood in the evening as well. Anytime during the days 2 through 4, go to the area in the evening and note any differences, because I talked about this before in another training, but neighborhoods have a certain rhythm and a certain ebb and flow from morning, afternoon to night. And you really want to know that because you want to understand the neighborhood that you're dealing with and actually make sure that it is an ideal neighborhood for you to be working in. Okay, so then step 3 was to send out a press release. And in this case, this was DC metro area's mother-daughters working together to rehabilitate District Heights homes. Okay, so this press release was actually going to be out, and you want this stuff done in advance, to the local newspapers, radio stations, and the like, to try and generate some interest about who they are and what they do. Okay, so that's day 3. And if you notice, step 2 is between day 2 and 4, but step 3 actually happens specifically on day 3. So again, as you get into this, that could get very confusing. You could forget a step if you're not really paying a lot of attention to the whole process, and if you haven't taken the time to see the whole picture and how to then go about making each piece happen. Then step 4, which would be day 7, is group canvassing, which was an introduction letter hand delivered to District Heights homes. Okay. Then you see step 5, day 12 was the first mailing. So you're mailing on this date the long form letter to selected homes from the target list. And in this particular instance, we actually created a targeted list for them. So they were going after some very specific homes within District Heights as well as District Heights en masse. Okay. So if you notice that mailing is going out on day 12, with which means that you can expect it to take, depending on the area, 1 to 3 days for that mailing to arrive. And then, if you notice, we're going to do a canvassing for step 6, 7 days after the mailing goes out. Okay? So canvas number 1 is a blanket canvas of quadrant number 1. Now, when we started this campaign, guys, one of the first trainings we talked about boundaries, right? And we talked about how we split up, as you can see here, the northern, southern, eastern, and western boundaries. We talked about how we actually split up our particular campaign, Lanham Severn, into different quadrants. Like quadrant 1 was everything east of 96th Avenue. Quadrant 2 was between 94th and 96th Avenue, and so forth and so on. So, for them, their quadrant 1 was what they were going to be going after for that particular day, which was day 19, but step 6 of the campaign. Then step 7, which would be day 20, which is just 1 day after the first canvassing here, they're doing, and remember, they've already toured the neighborhoods, they've already started talking to people. So that mailing number 2 is a short form follow-up letter to the selected homes from target list. Okay, so again, remember when I talked about the fact that what you want to be able to do is be able to refer back to the marketing materials that you sent. This is when that comes in handy. And if you have this all written, then as you're actually creating or fine-tuning your marketing pieces, what you're going to be able to do because of that is you'll be able to actually go, okay, I need to make sure that in this particular mailing piece that I am referring back to a previous piece. So I need to make sure that I write that into that piece before it gets printed. And I need to make sure it's there because I want to be able to refer back to it, back to the previous piece. That's a really important thing that a lot of people don't do, okay? So then let's look here, and then we're having another, so we see 7A, which is day 24, is an alternate mailing. Now this alternate mailing is different from the main mailing. Again, and remember, your mailings are your background campaign, right? So the alternate mailing is to vacant properties, non-owner occupied, out-of-town landlords, and it very simply states, we were recently in your area and noticed noticed that your home at 123 Main Street seemed to be vacant or seemed to be in distress, and we were interested in knowing if you had any interest in selling your home, whatever it's going to be. But it's the alternate mailing because it's not going to that other targeted list of homes that might be pre-foreclosures or whatever you might specifically be going after in that area, right? And it's not the general canvassing, which you're doing, or an EDDM, every door delivered mail. So that alternate mailing, you want to know that that's something that you're going to do or not do in your campaign, and then you want to plan for what day and of the campaign and what date in that campaign and what step those alternate mailings are going out. Okay, so and then we just keep going on and on. So step 9, day 27 is the mailing number 3. And if you notice, it actually goes out the same day in this particular calendar as the alternate mailing, but that's a yellow letter, okay? And then so forth and so on. So I think you guys get the idea, okay? So this is your roadmap. Without a really clear marketing calendar, you put yourself in a position where you're making it up as you go along. And we know from our Jumpstart Marketing and Lead Generation program that is not the way to effectively be a very effective lead generating machine for real estate, and for you to be able to go out and get the deals that you're actually looking to get. Okay, so your campaign doesn't have to be exactly this, and they can even be more detailed than this, but this is what you want to have in place before you get out there and start marketing. And what this will actually allow you to do, guys, if you noticed up here, one of the things that it actually allows you to do is to start evaluating your response rates. If you're working a quadrant and you have it broken down and you have mailings going to those different quadrants or going to different mailing routes at different times, as leads come in and marketing pieces are getting responses, you'll be able to talk to them, ask them how they heard about you, and you'll absolutely know what piece they more than likely got that got you that call. You'll be able to start to decide what pieces are being effective in the areas that you're working. And again, this is all about, at all times, what is going to work best for you to get the results that you want and how you can very easily track your return on investment and determine what you want to then spend on your campaign. So this is, the introduction to, and again, this is just an introduction to the marketing calendar and how to use it and how to go about creating one. And hopefully you guys have the basics and can take this and use it in your campaigns, because this is how you start to become a business, to become a real marketing lead generation pro versus just someone out there trying to put things together haphazardly. So hope you guys enjoyed this training, and I'll be talking to you guys on the group call.